remember like it was yesterday, man, when Naomi and Mercedes, Sasha Banks, left the WWE for reasons that I absolutely agreed with. They were unhappy, they were uncomfortable, and WWE at no point at any time cared about women's wrestling. It's all a narrative to get it out there, and behind the scenes, they don't really give a shit. Otherwise, you would have seen a completely different women's division. You would have seen talent being treated completely different than how Naomi and Sasha Banks were treated legitimately last year around this time in WWE. I remember like it was yesterday, everybody in the community, from Fightful to Meltzer, PW Insider, Satin with his lies about Mercedes, even going back to when her and Bayley had a hissy fit after losing to the Iconics at WrestleMania in their hotel room. All these lies, everything about how they left the WWE, Mercedes and Trinity, it was nothing more than a smear campaign against Mercedes and Mercedes only. Nobody questioned why Trinity had every reason to leave the WWE on her own. Do you know who questioned that? You're looking at him. Legitimately the only one in the community that even raised the question, why are we all blaming Sasha Banks for Naomi walking out of the WWE when Naomi has every right to walk out on her own? She doesn't need Sasha Banks. Well, the truth has finally been revealed, folks. Trinity Fatu breaks her silence on why she left the WWE, and it's because of the way I was talked to and handled, and it was the lowest I've ever felt in my entire life. Word for word out of her mouth. She appeared on Busted Open Radio yesterday, and Trinity was on the show talking about her debut for Impact Wrestling, which airs tonight on Access TV. She also talked about her exit from WWE and why it happened. This last year of my life has been life-changing in all the right ways, Trinity said. I'm here. I am here. Mickie James, who's also a co-host on Busted Open, along with Tommy Dreamer, Bully Ray, and Dave LaGreca, they were all talking to Trinity about her Impact Wrestling debut. Mickie James noted that Trinity has been quiet since leaving WWE, but she's been working on a lot of outside projects. I chose and wanted to be with Impact, says Trinity. The doors are open for me everywhere, literally everywhere. But I truly feel like Impact is the best choice for me at this point in my life right now with what I want to do, and just to be able to work with the talent there. I feel that is where I'll be happiest and most utilized and really get to grow in the ways that I feel that I need to right now on this wrestling journey. Had all of this stuff never happened, there's no way that I would have to take that leap, but the situation kind of forced me to figure it out. That's what I meant when I said everything was a blessing in disguise, because I was really going through a lot. I felt very stagnant. I was very unhappy. Ultimately, I left that day because of the way I was talked to and handled. I don't hear any mention of Mercedes here. Naomi left because of the way she was talked to, the way she was handled. Everything kind of just broke me that day. It had nothing to do with anything else or anybody else. That was just it. I had to go through all the backlash and the negativity and the lies and the rumors, and then to also kind of just feel lost. It broke me. I was probably the lowest I've ever felt in my life. But going through that made me reset and face it head on and figure out how to learn from this experience and grow from it and find myself again in all of it. I'm extremely happy now and really thankful for this opportunity to show that you haven't seen me at my best yet. Tommy Dreamer talked about her debut and that she has the full support from the fans and the Impact women's wrestling locker room, the locker room in general. Trinity also revealed that she's working, or was working, with an injury at one point, and she considered retiring. She said, I also had, what people don't know, I worked with a torn labrum over a year. I kept wrestling. I didn't talk about it. And I didn't say anything because, you don't want to look weak. You don't want to look like there's a problem. You don't want to be taken off television. None of that. I wanted to keep working, so I continued to work with a shoulder injury, and that was also affecting me. It did not feel good. Talked about the shoulder injury. She kept going on. 13, 14 years in the WWE. Trinity also put over everybody at Impact and the way everyone worked together like a family and feeling supported and welcomed there. The interview ended. She said her goal is to become the Impact Knockouts champion, and she's willing to work her way up the ladder to get there. When all this news broke about Sasha Banks and Naomi, everybody was like, oh my God, how could they? Vince and Bruce had Michael Cole go on air and say that they let the WWE fans down. Their actions disappointed millions of WWE fans and their fellow superstars. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Now everybody's in support of what she did. Then everybody hated them. Then there was nothing more than a smear campaign. It was all Sasha Banks' fault. Nobody figured out or came to the conclusion that maybe Naomi had every fucking reason to walk out of WWE, and she wanted to do it for herself. She didn't need Mercedes to lead a walkout. You don't think that woman felt the same way for years about how the division was handled and how she was handled and how the tag team titles were treated like shit and how the lack of women's storylines revolving around the title suck and the storylines that there are none of outside of what's going on with the women's championship problems for years? You don't think this woman had all of these problems written down in her head, thinking about what's going on here? How do we fix this? And then ultimately being lied to, told that you're going to win the tag team titles. Yes, we're going to build you and the division and these titles and everything's going to be great. Then WWE wants to break them up and have them remain champions. Naomi on Raw wrestling Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks on SmackDown wrestling Ronda Rousey. And what good is that going to do for the women's tag team titles that you promised them you were going to put more focus on? You think that Naomi wanted to be a part of that? You don't think that broke Naomi and Naomi only? Sasha was already dealing with this bullshit. She's already done a walkout for various reasons. Now Naomi got a glimpse of what WWE's capable of and the lying and the bullshit, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And you don't support this woman? I know a lot of people are going to be watching Naomi's Impact debut, or Trinity, I should say. Trinity Fatu's Impact debut. She's going to go on to be a beacon in that women's division. She's going to go get opportunities that she was never given in WWE because WWE never saw her on the elite level of a Bianca and a Becky and a Charlotte and an Alexa. It's just what needed to happen. And I'm glad that she finally spoke up and buried all the fucking bullshit and the reports, the false reports, the smear campaign that Sasha Banks had to go on after leaving WWE, everybody blaming her, Sapp and Meltzer and Satin and all these fucking various outlets. It's Sasha's fault. Not one single one of these fucking people brought up the idea of, well, maybe Naomi walked out on her own. Why does she need Sasha Banks to walk out? She doesn't have a fucking problem on her own? Why is she a follower is a good question. Why do you deem disrespecting Naomi as nothing more than a follower? Like she doesn't have a fucking problem on her own. She's not her own woman. Give me a break. I'm so glad this interview came out. So glad she deaded all this nonsense about her walking out last year with Sasha Banks, and she's going to do incredibly well over on Impact Wrestling. Someone else who may be walking out, Drew McIntyre. More news around Drew McIntyre as he is now no longer being advertised for Money in the Bank. What is going on with Drew McIntyre? He was just drafted to Monday Night Raw via the draft this past week. And originally McIntyre was supposed to be listed, or was listed, I should say, as one of the superstars advertised for Money in the Bank. As previously reported, McIntyre is unhappy with his position in the company, and his contract is slated to be up this year. He is said to be far apart on money with WWE in contract negotiations, which they will continue to be far apart on because when the Endeavor deal closes, Nobody on that roster is going to be making the money that they're making now because Endeavor is not going to allow it, as they are looking to save money and cut budget where necessary. McIntyre hasn't wrestled since the triple threat match at WrestleMania with Sheamus and Gunther, with the Intercontinental title being on the line there. And McIntyre is also sidelined with an injury. And the latest update as of last month is that he would be sidelined for a little bit longer. He deserved the time off. He was just, I guess, licking his wounds and healing his wounds a little bit before he gets back to television. It's interesting that he was pulled from the show following reports about his status. So obviously this is going to get people talking about, McIntyre is far apart still on negotiations. He's going to be at Wembley. He's going to AEW. He's letting his contract run out. Apparently his contract isn't up till next year. He will be back on WWE television this year. He's not going to sit out. WWE will not allow him to sit out because they'll just freeze his contract and then add that time that he doesn't work on top of his contract. So he might as well just come back to work. But all of this is a non-issue. Nobody knows why he's not advertised for Money in the Bank anymore. He is a part of the Raw roster. He is still hurt. He might be injured more so than we realize. And yes, there is a contract negotiation that will probably be ongoing. It could be any one of these reasons, a mixture of all these reasons. I don't really find this to be a concern about McIntyre not being with the WWE. If his contract isn't up until the end of the year, he will be back on TV. Otherwise, a contract will be frozen and WWE will take the proper precautions there for themselves and freeze McIntyre so he can't do nothing, and they'll just add that time back on his contract. So we will see what happens with that. I expect him back on television this summer. I think he's going to be a major player, especially for that World Heavyweight Championship on Monday night. But as this situation develops, obviously I will keep you guys in the know right here on the podcast. Thank you so very much for this extra today. I'm going to have more news later today in regards to Roman Reigns. We got some other news breaking as far as Roman Reigns is concerned, so stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up down below. Let's try for 1,000 likes minimum on today's Off the Script. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. And please go out and check out all the other content on the channel. Everything you need is on the homepage. Guys, I got more content coming up. Stay tuned, and thank you right here on Off the Script.